of investigation and formulation of general principles regarding their nature. So again, these states had to work under the intense strains and the tensions on account of effective international law. So the art of government assumed the, special significance. All the factors showed, seeds of political speculations on the Indian side. So the ancient Indian political thought and the institutions had certain distinct futures. So we have discussed some of the futures. So the first important feature of Indian political thought is it's a continuity. Some scholars have contended that the later political thinkers merely reproduce the treatise of the earlier writers. So this is not acceptable to a solitaire. So who says that it would be the incorrect to maintain that the ancient theories merely showed one another. So on the other hand, they carefully maintain so what they predecessors had said in regard to the political thought recorded whenever necessary and divergent opinions and thereby added to the totality and the continuity of the subject. So this conservatism was by itself one of the factors which enabled our subject to possess the continuity of its own. So then ancient Indian political thought in the main developed in the northern India and the Deccan, the home of Indo-Aryan culture. The Dravidian race of South, which can later period history, it's a build up on the powerful states feels like okay. So am I audible? Please come. Okay. The ancient Indian thought was intimately linked with the and religion and ethics and the development of the moral standard of the people. It's constituted on one of the basic duties of the rules. So no doubt the office of the king and the priest were the kept separate at religion occupied a position of prominence. So the king and the priest never cooperate. And despite of religion moral undertone, the political thought of ancient India was intensely realistic in character. The political ideas of the Hindu were down to the earth and very rarely tended to soar into the religion of ideal politics. They laid down rules of policy which were founded upon accumulated wisdom of past masters, which the rulers were expected to actually observe. So even though controversy regarding the origin of kingship center, around the principles of regarding the relative rights of the king and the subjects. So and the other thing, other one, political ideas were to large extent influenced by the monarchical states, which were prominent in the North India. So no doubt the Republican state also existed, but their number was so insignificant that much attention was not paid to them. So another one, in ancient Indian politics was intimately linked with the other subject and was not treated as an isolated or exclusive subject of the study and as an intimate link to with the other branches of human activities. So this was keeping with the Hindu habit of synthesis and all embracing ideas of the state. So another notable feature of future of ancient political thought and institutions is that priestly and ruling classes occupied a dominant position in the society. So no words in a political thought cribbing secrets, penalties and granting them the number of immunities such as exemption from the taxation and political punishments. However, later on the priestly class was deprived of this improvement status in the Ardhashastra Kautilya. Kautilya excluded them from the list of list of factors of the government. So these are the important features of the our Indian political thought. And there are several sources also there for the Indian political thought, like Vedas, Mahabharata, Ramayana. So we'll discuss it here now. So there are several. I mean, there are several sources for Indian political thought. Acknowledge of these sources would enable to us understand the nature, purpose, organization, and functioning of in ancient Indian polity and political thought and administration, the various difficulties and limitation of the rulers of that period and the ancient period. So systematic literature on ancient Indian political thought was available only from the 5th century BC only. So it was only from the 8th century BC, semi-secular and semi-religious subjects like grammar, etymology, and astronomy began to develop as an independent treatise. During the period of Vedas, Brahmanas, there were scattered passages on the sorry on the theory and the literature available in Rig Veda and Atharva Veda is very limited. So, but there is a reference of kinship. The matters concerning and the coronation ceremony and the various sacrifices to be made by the king at the time of ascension are the found in the text of uh, Samhita of Yajurveda and Brahmanas. So this provided us that as a valuable information on the position of the king and the various taxes imposed and collected by this encouraged and the prestigious enjoyed by the him. I mean, him means king. So he may also get some information from the texts about the relative positions and privileges of the different castes, especially the Brahmins and Kshatriyas. So since the 18th century BC, an age of specialization began, and the specialists like the grammarians, etymologists, astronomers made an effort for the beginners as well the advanced scholars. During this period, a special school of politics also originated, but unfortunately, the earliest works on the polity were lost and were recomposed in the 17th century BC. So India before 17th century BC composed of small kingdom, probably the kings have administrated their subject and the fulfilled their obligations with the assistance of saints, eldermen, and advisors. So their discussions in the course of time took form of books in spite of the limited information on the ancient Indian political thought, right? So, and some available sources like the Vedas. So, there is a popular belief that Vedas have originated from the directly God. So, altogether, there are four Vedas, namely Rig Veda, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Athar Veda. So, these four are the Vedas. So, they from the main sources of all matters on social, mm, political, religion of those times. Give me 1 minute. And the other source of our Indian political thought is the Ramayana. So the Ramayana is the oldest and most popular epic of the in the Hindu of the Hindus. So it consisted of the seven books and the, I mean, 2,400 couples. It represents the expansion of Aryan culture over the Deccan and the South India. So it's the methods of employed by the study of the Aryanization of the country. And the other one is Mahabharata. So the Mahabharata is the most understood source of ancient Indian political thought. So it comprises 18 books and about 1 lakh of couples. So the Santi Parva of Mahabharata contains a reference about the functions of king, Rajaniti administrative system as preached by the Bhishmas to the Pandavas after his the Astranyas. So and fall in the warfield. So Mahabharata also known as the Panchama Veda, Niti Shastra, Vedanta, and Dharma Shastra. So the learners of ancient Indian political thought could draw valuable information on state missionary, diplomacy, and the war, strategies, international relations, etc. So by having a glance into the Mahabharata only. And the other one is the Manusmriti. Manusmriti is the another significant source of Indian ancient Indian political thought. It's Manusmriti is also described as a Manu Dharma Shastra. Manusmriti was composed between the second century BC and first century AD. So it is considered as the most standard source of knowing the normal life of Indians during the age of Puranas. So it is also viewed as the main source of Hindu law. There are many references of Manu in the Mahabharata. So according to the Manu, at one time when there were no law and the other condition during the state of nature, God made an arrangement by creating Manu as the Lord of the people. So Manu began to provide protection to the people and the ruler. Am I not audible? Someone's texting. Hello, I'm not audible. My voice is not clear, is it? Hello? Am I audible now? So what happened? So another source for our Indian political thought is the Ardhashastra book. It's Ardhashastra is one of the most important source for our Indian political thought. Kautilya has discussed in detail about the administration of government and state instead of economic matters. So it's mainly concerned with the practical problems of the people and the government, its machinery, and functions both in the peace and the war. So Ardhashastra contained valuation on the administration system, diplomacy, warfare, and causes and consequences of revolutions and the remedial measures, etc. So hence Ardhashastra was considered as a ocean of knowledge and information to the king on various diverse matters. And other source are the smrtis. Also, Smritis provides a rich information on the administration of the state and the government. So Smritis categorically stated that a king was the servant of the people and a cruel and the despotic king would be important with the death punishment. So they have affirmed that the king must be a person endowed with noble qualities and liberal ideas. The Smritis were composed during the period between the second century BC and second century AD. So that this Smritis have the mentioned about the Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, and the Prayachita, so etc. So and the other source is the Shukraniti. The Shukraniti is another important work, is considered as an important source of our ancient Indian political thought. It provided a more detailed and comprehensive picture of the administrative machinery than any other work of the post Kautilya work, post Kautilya period. So it has cited the presence of monarchical regimes. It deals with the foreign policy and methods of warfare bodies, discussing the duties of king, functions of the ministers, and the functions of the offices. So it also made a references to civil administration, judicial system, etc. It has envisaged the state as an organization made for the welfare of the people. It favored the suppression of the crime and disorder and control of the humbling and the drinking. It prescribed the contents of functions of the states like maintenance of hospitals, maintenance of the rest houses, encouraging learning and education, scholarships, trade, uh, developing mines, forests, developing industries, and executing the irrigation projects, etc. Other source is Manasallasa. It's another typical work. It was composed by the King Someshwara of the Chalukya dynasty. It contained 100 of chapters of them, as many as 60 chapters deal with the past times. The remaining 40 chapters deal with the acquisition of kingdom, and it's stabilized. The work prescribed some ethical qualities to be possessed and practiced by the king. So this includes like speaking truth, observing sexual morality, offering of Shraddha, and going on pilgrimage. So this work also contains several topics like health of the king, duties of the treasurer, habitation of the varieties of war elephants, their training, medical treatment, etc. So it also contains some valuable information about the qualities and the types of pearls and diamonds. The work remained the silent. However, some work remained the silence on some important matters like canons of taxation, secular matters. And there are the inscriptions also, one of the important source for the Indian political thought. Inscriptions depicted on the stones, iron brasses, silver plates, and also reveals the matters on the ancient Indian political thought. Right. So in ancient period, the kings through this means have published their heroic acts, anxieties, conquests, subjugations of the other territories, boundaries of their kingdoms, their states, interstate relations, etc. So they presented the actual state of affairs in the government of missionary of the different administrations. So they enable us certain facts and aspect of sometimes altogether neglected in the world. So they provided us the clear idea of the interstate relations and also relations between the suzerain and these feudatories. They often prescribed interesting maximize about the aims, ideals of the government, duties of the king, responsibility of the ministers. So this is Sorry, my voice is not coming. So please let me check. See, from my side, everything is clear. Please refresh your screen. If there is, see, am I audible now? What happened? Voice is not coming. Now I'm audible. Now it is okay. No. So give me 1 minute. I will relog in again. I will leave the meet and I will relog again. What up? So now I am audible. Please confirm it. I am audible now. So the another source of the coins. Coins also compromise the major source of Indian political thought. So rulers like Chandragupta Maurya and Bimbisara, Ashoka, Samudragupta, and other have ordered the court of officials to maintain coins, denoting their successful events, tours, travels, favorite arts and cultures. So these coins discloses the existence of several cities states. For instance, existence of the Republican constituents of Asibi, Smalwas, Arjunakesa, Kunindas. Look this. The history of Indian coinage can be traced back to the Vedic times. When is the Niksha? I mean, when the Nishka, so the Shatman, and the Suvarna. So all our gold coins are used in the Gupta's period. The Ardhashastra referred to the gold coins, Nishka and Suvarna, and it's are the silver coins, uh, and Kushanas. So Sugnas and the Shatavas coins bear names of the kings. The Gupta coins excel of the all other dynasties in artistic excellence. So a study of coins enable us to know something valuable about the personalities of the kings. The kinds throw the useful light on the condition of trade and commerce. So these are the major sources of the our Indian political thought. So let's begin with the chapters on the Manu. The Manu and the thoughts of and Manu Dharma. I mean Varna Dharma. So first we'll know the definition of the Varna. What is the Varna? So Varna is a psychological classification of human beings. Varnas group the human being uh, different different classes according to their innate characteristics. Srimad Bhagavat emphasizes this using the Lakshana, which means an attribute or qualification and describing the nature of Varnas. So this shows us psychological qualities of Varna has or their innate characteristic. Sri Krishna also says that Bhagavad Gita that four Varnas are created by using the classification of qualities and their deeds. Over a period of times, Varnas became identified by both instead of innate characteristics of person. This could be due to several reasons. It must be easier to identify person by his birth than is looking into the innate characteristics of person. So in the old days, when the mental purity of individual was high, it was easier to identify the innate characteristic of individuals. Over time, this practice was lost. In these two types of identification of Varnas, Sri Vedavasya was born of a fisherman. Right, like this. He rose to become a great Maharshi, and many consider him to be author of Sri Vishnu like that. Will take so the in dharma is the dharma. There is a there is a quotation of dharma also. Dharma is also defined the qualification of a person who can give definition of dharma. He says that the Narada is the most important and beloved of son of Brahma, like that. So, and then there is a Sanatana Dharma of first Srimad Bhagavata talks about the Sanatana Dharma and denotes the definition of Sanatana Dharma and transcends the boundaries of region, time, and religion. Narada gives a short, important definition of Dharma. He says, Dharma are a set of practices which take us towards God. Um, Other make practices are one of which make us turn away from the God. So God Himself is the root of dharmic practices. Vedas have come from the Lord Hari. So this another texts or Vedas are the sources of Dharma. So there are two other sources for obtaining definition of a classification of Dharma. Um, so this have practical application of obtaining classification of Dharma. So the one source of Dharma people have who realized God and Vedas. This people mind will be turned the God righteous behavior. Um, Whatever comes to their mind, they will be come to Dharma. So, in summary, Narada gives the source of Dharma, God and Vedas, and the second people who are enlightened and the Vedas guide enlightened people who mind has become turned to God, Vedas, and Manusmriti also says that exactly the same. Vedas are the sources of the Dharma, conduct of the people who are enlightened and who knows the Vedas and inner consciousness are primary source of Dharma. So, Bhagavad Gita talks about the Dharma or ethical principles for all human beings before talks about the Dharma for individual Varnas. So yeah, in much more details and as last more principles of Dharma that should be followed by all human beings. So the fact that the Bhagavad Gita gives more emphasis on the common dharmic principles of for all human beings compared to the dharmic principles for different varnas shows that a common dharmic principles that binds all human beings are a lot more important than the dharmic principles that specific classification of human beings should follow. So all these the dharmic principles are universal principles that apply to all human beings, not just only Hindus. So this dharmic principles set a very high bar of ethical behavior for all human beings. So everybody can check how much they are following these principles. One can gauge how much they have progressive by measuring um themselves dharmic principles. So there are varnas like Brahmanas. Will regard Brahmanas first. A characteristic of the Brahmana varnas are described. Many of these times have been described about. There are, I mean, in the Brahmanas varnas, there are some qualities emphasized: Shama, Dama, Saucham, uh, Kshaniti, a tolerance, ups and downs in the life. Next, Ajravaram, Janam, Daya, so, Satyam. These are the some qualities in the Brahmanas. So many of these qualities have been explained here. These qualities should be in all human beings. People who have these qualities in abundance call them Brahmins. So the second varna is the Kshatriya. There are some qualities for Kshatriya, like the Shauryam, one who is not afraid or overcome by others. Next one is Viryam. I mean, one who can overcome anybody. The first is the two characteristics are necessary to fight against the adharmic forces. And next is the Dhruti, I mean, courageousness, its ability to fight and even when things are not going well. Next one is Teja. So this sense of power mm, eminent that can be intimated that opponents. So these are the some qualities of the about the Kshatriyas. So now the third one is the Vaishya. So Vaishya also there are some qualities. Devagarna, I mean devotion to the god, teachers, elders, and cows. Mm, Next promotion of the there is three objectives: human pursuit, dharma, artha, kama. So nipunam, skillfulness, and innovations. So now the third varna is the Shudras. The cleanliness, these qualities of these people are the cleanliness, seva, services. So all people who are servicing others, working for others are considered to be as the Shudra characteristics. Next, Swamini and Amyaya, serving who employs them without duplicity. Then Amantra Yajana, next one, who can worship without knowledge of mantras. So he may not capable to deep thinking and meditations. So here the Shudras, uh, they don't have knowledge about the. So this service others character Shudra Varna. So people who work for others, Shudra Varnas, which includes the large majority people in today's world. So have Shudra characteristics. Characteristics of Shudra Varna are in line with the main characteristics of the service. So there are the discriminated segments in the Manusmriti, also in the Manuvarna systems. There are some segments that appear that the discriminated nature of Manusmriti. There can be two reasons why such a text appear in the Manusmriti. And, such a text could have been added later. Many of scriptures, such as the Purnas, I mean, expected the Smrit Bhagavata Purnas. So and Smritis have texted that have been adulterated in the interpolation of deletion. So Purnas and Smrutis have multiple level of meanings. In many cases the literal meaning is not to correct understanding. So there are other inner meanings which will be given the right interpretation is. So when you find a statements in Manusmriti, there are against the spirit of Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavatam. So we have interpreted these positions with the help of acharyas in a manner that this is consistent with the rest of these scriptures. This concept is called as the next samanyaya. So only master that will versed with the whole compendium Vedas, Upanishad, Gita, next Brahma Sutras, so etc. So one example of this kind of interpretation was done by Pejwal Swamiji of Udupi. So he said that when the passage of Manusmriti says that the Chandalas should be discriminated against, the meaning of Chandala is morally depraved person. They are saying that according to him, this passage is saying that person who have shown immoral behavior can be discriminated against as form of punishment. So we respectfully request this uh, Tadipation interpret the Manu Smriti and other Smritis and be relevant of the currently day ages also. So this is the brief uh, about the Manus and the sources of the our Indian ancient political thought. So this is about the Manu Smriti. So if you have any doubt, you may ask or you may text here. If you may have, this is about the Manu Varna Asma. So today's class we are discussing about the futures and sources of the our Indian political ancient Indian political thought and India modern also there, and the Manus Varna Dharma system. So if you have any doubt regarding this, you may ask. See, questions is this is the important only. See here, everything is important. So there is nothing special like that. This is the only one is the special importance. So we'll discuss in later classes, important class. So today we only started, right? Am I audible? Please confirm it. No one is there. If you don't have any doubts, so I will conclude here class. So class will be end here. If you don't have any doubt, we'll conclude here. We'll meet tomorrow. Same time, 4:30. Okay, thank you.